Welcome to Psychology English. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Richard Gross. I live in Newark in the UK with my wife. I have two daughters and six grandchildren. I retired from teaching in 2001 to concentrate on my writing. And to date, I've published over 60 books, mostly solo, but sometimes with co-writers.
Talk about a psychologist who has been an inspiration for you in your career.
Yeah, I'd like to mention two because they both worked together at Nottingham University Psychology Department, where I did my undergraduate degree. R.B. Joynson, as he was called, he never gave his first name away, and John Shotter are the two individuals. Joynson was an, a critic of behaviorism, which was still quite uh, a dominant force in psychology at the time that I did my degree. So I'm going back to the late 1960s. But he's best known for a book called Psychology and Common Sense that he published in 1974. John Shotter was also critical of mainstream academic experimental psychology, and he was advocating new forms of qualitative research. And to give you an example, a flavor of his approach, I just mentioned two or three of his publications, if I may. One is
Absolutely.
we contributed an article to a book called Reconstructing Social Psychology, and his chapter was called "What Is It to Be Human?" Not many psychologists were asking that question at that time. He then co-authored Deconstructing Social Psychology. Quite a radical thing to do at that time. And then finally, he was the sole author of Conversational Realities, Constructing Life Through Language. That was in 1993. And it was that emphasis on language, I think, that made his approach distinctive, and which has remained with me as a major influence. He was as much a philosopher as he was a psychologist, and in fact, my degree was a joint degree in philosophy and psychology. So he really played into um, my studies at the time very very nicely.
Talk to me now about what you feel is an important big idea in psychology.
It really follows from what I just described about uh, Johnson and Schotter. Uh, they helped me question what's sometimes seen as the received wisdom of psychology, both its theories and its methods. The nature of knowledge in general and science in particular lie at the heart of the debate regarding what psychology actually is. I think it's one of the things that makes psychology unique as a discipline is that it's constantly asking itself, what is it? What is this thing called psychology? And I think psychology's big mistake has always been to assume that it can model itself on natural science, and that the methods of natural science are the only kind of valid ways of establishing truth. And I think that's where psychology has fallen down over much of its history.
Talk to me about one of your projects.
The one that's been going on now for 17 years is actually a membership of an organization called Cruse Bereavement Support.
Mhm.
Um, It was formerly called Cruse Bereavement Care. It changed its name last year, so uh, people may know it by that name. But if you haven't heard of it, it's spelt Cruse, so it's nothing to do with water or ships or anything like that. But I experienced two major bereavements close to each other in 2002, and I decided, after getting some bereavement support myself, I decided I want to give something back. So I trained to be a Cruse bereavement supporter. I train other supporters, other volunteers. I sit on various committees. I'm a supervisor for other volunteers, and I've actually written two books on grief, which would never have happened had I not joined Cruse as as an organization. So I see that as my project.
Tell me now about one of the books that you have written.
Yeah, the book that I'd like to talk about a little is this one. Themes, issues, and debates in psychology. It's in its fifth edition, and it first published in 1992, I think. So it's been running a long time. I enjoyed writing it more than I think any other book that I've written, because it wasn't tied to a particular course or a particular syllabus or set of course requirements. So I was free to explore big ideas, including the one that I alluded to before, the nature of psychology, nature of science, but also other issues like free will determinism, nature of normality, abnormality, consciousness, heredity, environment, but in a way that can't be done in a sort of general textbook. And it also allowed me to include some non-mainstream topics, again, that I'm sort of particularly interested in, including positive psychology and religion and spirituality. So, yeah, it's just a book that's very, very close to my heart.
Hey, well, thank you so much for taking the time to take part and to answer my questions. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thanks.